Assalamu alaikum everybody. Thanks for your time. I made a promise that I'll be calm, so I'm going to be calm. Let me know if you guys can hear me well. My things are all messed up here, so trying to fix that. Now come on, give me a thumbs up before I jump it. Or if Jaliba is too loud, not loud enough. Omar Bun in Mbar, thank you. Ahmed Khalid Banna Bari, my man. Thank you guys. Anyway, for the longest time, wow, that was thunder. If I drop off, it's because of some other getting there, so. What was that? So, if you go to Diamla, you have to talk because this is the nature of things. This is the nature of negativity. It keeps escalating and escalating and escalating and escalating until everybody gets involved. Iran Jafaran Talaya, Guy Jafaran Talaya, Karaki Jafaran. I have to do. Everybody pray for us. Maybe they are capable, who knows? You know, Manuko Kavola, Kararola Balongo Kungo Mobile Balinkilumbije. When this thing started, this whole flag bearer nonsense, when it started, we knew it was just going to keep escalating and escalating until people do the needful, which is to stop when they were told to stop. That didn't happen. Now it's taking on a different component, a different life of its own. Tribe is now being invoked. And whenever that happens, I will not sit down and keep quiet. You know, people can do all their shenanigans and all their nonsense and say what they want to say. I'm an institutionalist. I'm conservative like that. And, you know, that's what I flow with. But as soon as people start mentioning tribe and then this takes on a tribal dimension, I have to jump in. Because that's the beast we're trying to kill. And unfortunately, I have to call out my ranger buddy. That was a wrong move. In this whole discussion about who should be UDP flag bearer, there should be no invocation or reference to tribe or ethnicity or anything like that. It's uncalled for. In my light. Is it too bright? So generally what I want to say is in politics, in every political situation, politics is not like your family dynamic or your village, even in the village dynamic, there's politics involved in there. So in every political establishment, there are different factions, different, you know, camps, different interest groups, if you like. We saw it with the Democrats and Biden. He should run, he shouldn't run. The AOC bloc, the Bernie Sanders bloc, and all the others like he shouldn't run. That happens in politics. We saw it between Trump and Pence in 2020. We saw it just now between Trump and Elon Musk. So people may have things on the outside where they appear all cool, dandy, fine, and internally they have different interests. And when those interests are challenged or when those interests are on the line, what they do is they flip out. And then it comes out into the public space. So it's nothing new. It's not wrong for the UDP to have people all in different, you know, inclinations. I support this guy. I want this guy to be president. I think this guy should be a better president. I think we tried this approach. It didn't work. Let's try a different approach. No, this approach would be the best approach. Those discussions are healthy. UDP is a democratic party. Sometimes these things cannot be contained internally. They have to come out, you know. At best, some of us will just ignore it. That is why I've never been commenting on it. Like I said, I'm an institutionalist. UDP has a process. from 1996 to date, UDP has a process. Every time we have an election year is when UDP selects its flag bearer. It has never changed. That has always been there. You can discuss the traditions within the UDP, you know, what is the political culture, what is the political tradition, you can discuss all of that. But that has been the norm. UDP was formed in August 1996. Elections in 1996 were held in September. That's when 𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏 was selected to be the UDP leader and flag bearer. Granted, in the Gambia, traditionally, the leader of the party is always the flag bearer of the party. Everybody gets that. So from 1996 up to date, from only 1996 when the party was formed and the people, you know, pulled their heads together and say, who are we going to select? That's when 𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏 was selected. There was no contest in it. But after that, whenever the flag bearership comes up, UDP will always invite people to put their name forward if they wanted to be flag bearer. That includes people who are not even members of the political party. Especially in 2011, when Dabo knew that Yahya Jammeh has, you know, established a process which was targeted specifically to stop him from running for presidency, they started looking for people outside. That's where Dr. 𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒏 comes in. Now, that's the reason. UDP is always seeking people. Even in 2016, didn't we have people like 𝒂𝒄𝒏 who were APRC applying to be the flag bearer of the UDP? People were approached outside of the UDP. Look, come to the party. You don't need to be, you know, a member or a leader in the party, or we just want you to be flag bearer. People turned it down. So these things have been happening since 1996, but I guess people who just came to the UDP would not know that, or they have no respect for that institutional process. This is where my beef is. That is where this whole issue is coming out of. 𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏 gave all for this party. He is the unifying figure in this party. And this is nothing short of challenging his leadership. It doesn't matter how you cap it. It doesn't matter how you tag it or how you label it. This is a challenge directly, a disrespect to him and his leadership and his authority. If you have no respect for institutions, we get it. Leave UDP. Melville did it, or UDP endorsed by 𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏, I cannot support this party anymore, I'm going. If you feel the same way, leave. If you don't want to be a part of it because you don't respect the institutional order that is established, leave the party. UDP has been through a lot. A lot has been thrown at this party. From 1996 to date, the only reason it survived is because of the leadership of 𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏, assisted by those people around him. Until we got to 2016. So in essence, we can say there was no internal enemy within the UDP because they would have succeeded. When people got frustrated like Wajuaranyol, they left the party. That's what you do. If you cannot get along with the people, if you do not respect the institutional norms of the party, leave and go your way. Nobody is saying you have no right to advocate for who you want to be the leader of the party. But everything, when you do things that are not right and then people go against that, they say, oh, you are camp so-and-so, camp so-and-so. I'm not in any camp. I know UDP has standards. They have established them in from 1996 to date, election year, they select the flag bearer of the party. Yes, one can argue by default, the leader of any party from PPP days to now, NCP, the leader of the party is usually the person they present as the flag bearer. UDP showed that that's not exactly 100% correct. Because 2011, they sought somebody different. It didn't work out. 2016, we all know the party leader was not the person who became the elected or nominated member or nominated flag bearer for the party. So there can be exceptions to that rule. When this whole brouhaha started, the point was made. 𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏, being the calm person he is, being the leader that he is, he came out and addressed it calmly with respect to all sides. What was his response? Oh, the UDP, I am proud. Because you can look at UDP and point to Rahi and say he's the leader. You point to Talib, say he's capable of leading the country. You point to Young, says he's capable. Lamin Sane, Ahmad Sane. All these people within the UDP, that's a legacy and I'm proud of it. But I want to encourage people that it doesn't matter who you support. The UDP does not select a flag bearer until the election year. So let us follow that process. When the time comes, whoever feels like you want to be the presidential candidate, you can throw your name in the ring. Let the people decide. Let the process take its course. Dabo has been challenged in the past. That's how a leader is supposed to operate. People are excited. Okay, you know, the election is coming. Adama Barrow needs to go, but who do we need to select? Yes, everybody should have that opinion. But when he comes out, respects your side that does not support him or think he should be the leader. Respect the side who thinks he should be the leader. He is telling you, let's wait until it is election year. When the UDP's process takes place, then we can select who we are going to select as the flag bearer. And when that happens, let everybody get behind that person. That should be the end of the story. But we will do what we want to do. We will push it and push it and push it until you get people involved and dragged into this whole nonsense that doesn't stop. Now look where we are. And it can get worse. It's going to get much worse until people decide to stop. Respect the institution. It's that simple. It doesn't matter more whatever you do, you cannot impose a leader on the UDP. UDP is not going to select a flag bearer in 2025. That's not going to happen. So why don't you wait until it is time? Do your groundwork. If you're going to lobby people in the party, say, hey, let's support this person, do it internally. You have that access. Why are you coming on here trying to antagonize people? And like I said, I'm going to call out my, Ranger buddy. Tribe has nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing. That was the wrong call. There is this notion within the UDP core. There are people who have been in the party since 1996. They suffered all kinds of injustice in that country, whether directly or through their family members. People lost their parents. People, families were disrupted because of what Yahya Jammeh was doing to UDP members and members of the party. All of that, they endured through it, even though they were not directly affected. Until we came to 2016, like the wall of Lusoti Ambaro, everybody started flooding to the UDP because now it was easier to perform politics in the Gambia without any consequence. Naturally, that's a human condition. There are people there who were doing all this, suffered all the consequences and everything, feeling their positions threatened. Now that everybody is in here, we're probably going to be ignored or we're not going to be noticed anymore. That naturally happens in every dispensation, and it's not in a vacuum. That happened in 1965 or 1959 after the PPP was formed. In the name of democracy, in the name of development, in the name of moving the Gambia forward, the people that carried Jawara on their back to the presidency, he looked among them, and he was justified. I'm not saying he's wrong. He's completely 100% right in doing that. He looked among them and realized, okay, there's only a handful of people I can pick to be in my government if we want to move this country forward. He picked those handful of people, and then he turned to the people that, thanks to the British colonial, injustice, the few people that were educated, mostly Akus and Wolofs in Banjul, the people he turned to, including some white people, colonial masters, for them to be able to set up the Gambia as an institution, as a state, before they Gambianized the whole civil service. So those people, what did they do? Because they have no political capital, they started fencing themselves in, and then excluding the people that carried Jawara on their back. That was the time a lot of people were so dissatisfied that they allied with the UP, up to the time that 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏 became an opposition figure in that country. They were mostly UP supporters because they felt disappointed. So when that history is there, people have a right to be apprehensive. Hey, we don't want people who just came to UDP in 2016 to be elevated to such a position. What if they leave us by the wayside? I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying I'm not saying their fear is, grounded in, truth. But it's a real fear that is there. That does not translate to the fact that this person is not Mandinka. So what do we do now in the Gambia? Mandinka exclusion. If you are Mandinka, you should not be vying for political office. Is that the message you're sending? And if the claim is UDP is a Mandinka party, does it matter who we put in front as the flag bearer or the leader of the party? If the party is a Mandinka party, does it matter who is in front? That has no place, absolutely zero place. It doesn't matter. Whenever you invoke tribe, it gets interpreted a million different ways, and all of them can be justified. That's why we don't do it. There are people who are genuinely saying that from 1996, that is why Adama Barrow, Dr. Cisse, where were you? That was the reasoning behind it. When this fight was going on, nobody saw you, nobody knew where you were, and then all of a sudden you are here castigating me. That's what Adama Barrow was trying to say. There is an element within the UDP who thinks that. Are they justified? Historically, there's a reason why they're doing that. But we need to get past that and realize for Gambia, if we need to move forward, we need to embrace everybody. And with that trust, people can come in, support each other, and we develop the country without excluding anybody. But if people have that genuine fear and they are addressing it, everybody knows Yankuba Dawa has been in the UDP since, I don't know, he was a child. So if he's interested in leadership position, people can say, oh, this is a guy we can trust because he's been tried and tested through the tyranny of Yahya Jammeh. He is no stranger to any confrontation. So if there are people who are saying that we feel like he's the best person, he contests an election, he can win, and now we want him to be, that doesn't mean it's because he's a Mandinka. It's that 1996 versus 2016 concept that is still there. Is it right? If we want to be an inclusive party, that should not be the framework. It should be based on who has merit. I look at this person, does he have the credibility? Yes. Does he have the honesty, the integrity? Yes. Does he have the qualification? Yes. That's the person we should support. But all of that is to decide. The leadership said it's not time yet. When it is time, the position will be made available. UDP is seeking people who are qualified, feel like they can, to be, submit their application to be flag bearer of the party into the 2026 election. If Dabo decides to put his name in the ring, that's a personal decision. He's going to talk to his family, he's going to talk to his advisors, he's going to talk to people that, he usually talks to in confidence, that I want to do this. If they say yes, go ahead, he goes ahead and puts his name. Who can stop him? The only thing we can do is say we're not going to vote for him. If he decides to do it, that's how it's going to go. He puts his name in the ring. If Talib wants it, perfect. He was elected twice. A lot of people see good leadership qualities in him. Let him put his name in the ring. And those who support him can go and advocate within the party and the party's framework and say, okay, this is the guy we should select because A, B, C, and D. If people feel that Young Dabo is the person, let them do the same thing. And when the whole process plays out, whoever is elected as the flag bearer of the UDP, we all get behind him. That's what happened in 2016. Kabri Adamo Barrow unveiled. People were asking each other, "More can you call?" Because nobody knew him. But we knew that was the institution. Even though it was an extraordinary circumstance, it didn't happen at a Congress or anything. Because of what happened in 2016 was how Adamo Barrow was propelled to the forefront. The leadership was behind him, so we all got behind him. We supported him. That's how people say, oh, Barrow was untouchable back then. Yes, because what was at stake was higher than anything else. If that election was lost, we needed people to stand together and the UDP to still be intact to continue the fight as a pressure group to release those leaders. Or at least keep the spotlight on their plight so that they don't all get murdered in mile 2. When he came, nobody knew him. That's why his entire campaign, mile 2. That's why he came, because nobody knew him. But institutional respect and respect for order and discipline is why people got behind him. And look where he is now. So if the same thing is happening now, calmly, respectfully, he understood your position. Even though with all that he went through, he said, I am proud, there's so many people within the UDP who are leadership material and that people feel like it's time for them to be leaders. I get it, I understand it, and I respect it. It is a moment of pride for me. But let's wait until it is time for us to select our leader, then we can bring these things. There's an internal process to that. Why do we keep going on Facebook and harping and yapping on allowing people all the time just to, create confusion, seek attention? You think you are attacking this camp against Yankuba or this camp against Talib or this camp against Lamin Saleh or Rohilo, when in fact what you're doing, you're tearing people down. If you feel like tearing Yankuba down is what is going to elevate Talib, and then people on Young's side think tearing Talib down is going to elevate Young's or Rohi's side, or all 4 of them have been torn down. That's the future of the UDP. The party you claim that you support. The party you think should lead the country. The party you think has the what it takes to lead the Gambia. So if you're tearing everything down that the future of that party is going to rely on because you do not want to listen to the leadership of the party, what does that say about you? Leave. It's as simple as that. Like I said, Wajuara, when he was frustrated, he left. Dembo Bojang, when he was frustrated, he left. The person who's been keeping that party together, gluing it together, is Dabo. But now we have people inside who we can consider as internal enemies bent on disrupting everything, because you attack people, they're going to respond. And then it escalates, and it keeps escalating. So on the one hand, there's that utter disrespect and total disregard for institutional processes and the authority, and it manifests itself as indiscipline and willful determination to persist in that which you know only furthers division and disrespect towards certain elements within the party. It is arrogance. And the excuse that, I have a right to my opinion. If this is a democratic party, we need to, everybody gets that. Nobody is saying that you cannot have a preference as to who you think should be the leader. Let them even go and plug Pierre Gomez from NPP and bring him and make him UDP presidential candidate. You know, it's not time yet. I see that story here. They will testify that it's true. Pabi ala bungolo metalor na baramen jimbo so finally the jimbo keje. So o kontano kona ala pilialo la ndija fanko la ndija fo bangole mbabe e non ko marinja ko nyimba na solo de négocier na sadio mbasit la jande ngataron non ko marinja ka jube ni amoy sungol ba ma asatra da fo man tara sirinja wato fa nyandi suma be diare ala muso be sirinja o mo ne ron ko la kay ko ni asiri jabe ngo junkula way fo de batar ramna fo sadio be ngo junkula fo te mantra ba mania ñoo saba fo bulo sira ñoo mo ram kabri fatar ral na de ñenen ka ko bar ñene kana kawo por banna salmansi saji mansa muso di mangunu ma folo saka setam muna wo songa si la fa ka ñoo kelendo that is exactly what is happening. Saji mansa dim mansa banna salmansi how dim manso banna salmansi alta da wa ka kele because message yo se rasit la ñasi jabi ndo jogo dim manso folo. So why are we doing that? So that's people on the one hand, you insisting that this is how it should be. When you have no say, no power, until the Congress is held, the UDP selects its leadership and then advertises the position for flag bearer, that's when that all is going to go come into play. What the right approach is for you to do is start mobilizing internally. Seek people who think like you, that this person should be the flag bearer of the party. Okay, how do you think we can go about it? If you are on the other side and you don't believe that the process is going to be fair for your candidate, what mechanisms are you going to put in place from now against that time to make sure it is fair, free, and, you know, devoid of any cronyism? That's what you should be doing internally, not coming on Facebook and yelling at people and screaming at people and calling each other names. So that's people on one hand, being that extreme. On the other hand is the same disrespect and disregard for institutions. As soon as the party leader comes out and says, this is how we're going to do it, I understand your position, but let's wait for this time. Anything you say on top of that is disrespecting him. That is why I said this all boils down to disrespecting Dow, disrespecting the UDP, and determined to tear it apart. Because there's no other explanation for it. You were told that whatever position you are taking, whatever approach you are taking, there is no need for it until we decide, or we get to a point where we're going to make that decision. So hold on to your opinions until it is time for decision making. Then you can come up with what opinion you have and let people discuss it. What are you going to spend the rest of your time doing? Mobilize people. Hey, I think Talib should be the president. Yeah, I think the same too. So who do you think thinks along those lines? Oh, I think Mr. XYZ. Let's mobilize them and see if we can, you know, get the UDP base to support him when he puts his name in the ring. Oh, you know, if Dawa puts his name in the ring, nobody dares put their name in the ring because they have too much respect for him. So somebody who is not willing to make tough decisions like that, you want them to be the leader of the party or the country? You have to be able to make tough decisions. If he desires to, that's his right. Nobody can stop him. But if you want to challenge him to, do so. Let the party members decide, and the selection committee, let them decide. They are all aware of what is being said and what is going on. And people talk to them internally and privately. You don't see them coming on Facebook. They know what the people's concerns are regarding candidate A, B, C, or D. Age, inexperience, divisiveness, you know, so many things. Every candidate you look at, because if people are tearing each other down, we can pick who is saying what about who. So they weigh those decisions. And if you feel like, okay, these people are not going to be fair, then make that known to them internally. The internal process is there for a reason. So all this, the approach, I think the solution is the party leadership. When I say leadership, it's not just Mr. Dabo, it's everybody, but specifically him. He has always been using the carrot approach. Many people don't know this, but he fasts regularly. Sometimes when these issues come up, we interrupt his iftar just for him to talk to people about the issues that are going on. Imagine that. All with calm, all with respect, never angry, never yelling at anybody. Let's do it this way. This is how you should be careful. There are things in the background that you're not aware of. If you come online and say some stuff, you're hurting people that you don't know you're hurting because how close they are to the person you're talking about. So let's be calm. Sometimes we keep him on the phone for like, late into the night when he's supposed to be doing other stuff. After all that, people still insist being online and saying stuff. How much more disrespectful can you be? So it's time for the leadership to stop using the carrot approach. Some people deserve to be called out, named and shamed, or even, expelled. I don't know what the right approach is because the leadership has all the tools at their disposal. They know which will work more effectively than the other. But if you need to call people out and, shame them, do that. I know they're not going to do that because, that's not in their style to shame people. But if I'm not member, Setan Mantola Goba. Maybe that's the point that we got to. People need to stop this nonsense. It's not getting us anywhere. The National Assembly is gearing up, preparing to come and talk about this borrowed draft constitution, and here we are fighting each other for something stupid, because it's stupid. Nobody can change the trajectory of what is happening. If you feel like the UDP should select a flag bearer, as soon as the election is over, the candidate lost or win, we're going to select our next flag bearer immediately after the elections. Propose that at the Congress. Let them include it in the Constitution, so the Constitution will change. But have some respect for internal processes. If you are new in UDP, these are the traditions that kept the party going, despite everything that Jammeh threw at UDP. It's because people recognize leadership. Even when you don't agree with them, you still respect them. And you abide by what they say. Because that's what the majority supported. When we make a mistake, when the party makes a mistake, it comes back and rectifies. The whole 3-year, 5-year thing. UDP was part of the coalition building when Dabo was not around. When he said that 3-year, 5-year thing, we all saw. What did they do? They held a press conference, basically the leadership of the party, and made Mr. Dabo clarify that this is my personal opinion. It doesn't reflect that of the UDP. That's how institutions operate. If you don't, believe in what position they have taken, just step back and let it play out. Because the majority carries the vote. That's how democracy works. Sometimes even in cabinet, you will hear it. I was opposed to this, that, or the other, but it happened anyway because majority of the cabinet voted for it. But are you supposed to come out and be a disruptor? No. You just realize that, okay, my position is not as popular as I would like for it to be. Other people have other positions, and at the end of the day, they won the day. So, this is the end of the story. I'm not going to be the one who will be a disruptor in there. But we have so many people who are disrupting right now. So what we're witnessing is self-immolation. Self-immolation, like I said in the beginning, you think that by tearing down, candidate X or potential candidate X, I'm going to elevate my candidate. And then those people who are supporting candidate X say, I'm going to tear down your candidate so that I can elevate my candidate. At the end of the day, you're just cutting down your roots, you're cutting down your branches, you're cutting down the whole damn tree. For what reason? But you cannot seem to see that. Every single day is the same damn thing on Facebook. It will wear off, when they get it out of their system, it will wear off. Now we are in completely different territory. And it can only get worse from here. The best thing to do is just log off, go calm down, and wait for the process to unfold. If you cannot wait that long, move away from the party and go do your own thing on the outside. And the problem that we have in the Gambia in general, not just within the UDP, is when people feel like they are right, they cannot see anybody else's perspective. From the beginning, this is what we're saying is going to happen. We will end up tearing each other down. And what does that feed into Barrow's inner system? These are not people you should trust as leaders of the country. Like they say here, democracy can be messy. But there's no better alternative than it, where everybody has a voice. The problem is, how do we exercise that voice? You could be right. In fact, you might be right. But how you approach issues, how you address them, makes the difference between you being right and your approach leading to complete disaster. So people need to be calm. People need to be respectful. If you feel like the process is not favorable to you, or is a process you cannot get behind, nobody is stopping you from leaving. Go do your own thing. Stop being the source of discord in a group where people respect each other. 20+ years this party survived. Nobody ever had any kind of this brouhaha out in the public. 10 years after the tyrant has been defeated, or less than 10 years, here we are. And who is responsible for it? The people who persist in their wrongdoing, even after the party leader has spoken. If you have no faith in the leadership that they are going to select the right candidate when the time comes, or that the process is going to be fair, why are you in the party? Why are you still there? People have a right. My wife is selecting me for president. That's another thing too. And by the way, I'll endorse that. So, you know, that's another thing too. Leaders need to be tested. We all know people can have their misgivings about one candidate or the other candidate depending on what their, you know, perception on life is, or how they think things should be approached. We all saw it recently from the, the protest. Suddenly, X for president, Y for president, all from the same, you know, protest. That's what it takes in the Gambia for people to be elevated to a certain status. But it requires a lot more than that. And when people are raising those concerns, it is genuine. The best way to deal with it is internally. Let's not create enemies amongst ourselves just because we disagree on who is going to be the flag bearer, when the time for deciding that has not even arrived yet. So this is not a challenge about who is going to be the flag bearer, because like I said, if you think that that's all you're talking about, it's not. You're disrespecting the institution. You are disregarding all the norms of the institution. You're disrespecting the person of Mr. Darboe. This is a direct challenge to his leadership. Nothing else. The leadership of the UDP changes at the Congress. It's as simple as that. Maybe going forward, we need to, you know, change certain things. Like I said earlier, if you feel like once the elections are over, that's when we should decide who is going to be our next flag bearer, and we start preparing them, propose that at the Congress, let them include it. If it is not included, you will be told, okay, this is why we are not going to do it. Do you think if Yahya Jammeh knew about Adama Barrow before the time that he was unveiled, he was not going to stop him? Even after winning the election, you know? So sometimes these things, you don't need to unveil them. There's no need for it. There's a lot of potential. Let the people, let there be suspense, if that's what it takes. What are we in a rush for? And everybody who's thinking that, oh, if UDP doesn't do this, it's their fault that Adama Barrow stayed. Okay, fine. If it is UDP's fault, then blame Yunus. Because he started all this. Now it never gets old. It's the same old thing. What we should be focusing on is how we should remove Barrow. So if people think that, you know, let's just leave UDP by the wayside, fine. People have options and they have a right to do that. But one thing is true, 100%. There's no doubt about it. If anybody can remove Barrow from power as a single entity, it's the UDP. Yes, it's probably going to be hard, or maybe even unlikely or impossible to do it because he's the incumbent. People have that. But if anybody, I'm saying if anybody can do it as a single entity, it's the UDP. If you think that's not possible, only a coalition can take Barrow out. No coalition will succeed in the Gambia if the UDP is not part of it. Absolutely none. They have no chance. So that means that UDP is no bystander in this. It's not somebody you can discard to the side. So if you're sitting out there saying, oh, you know, it's a civil war inside the UDP, let's have our popcorn and enjoy it. Yeah, it's part of the democratic process. Sometimes when your opponent is having a rough patch, for you to enjoy it. But make no mistake that change in the Gambia cannot happen without the UDP being a part of it. That's just, you know, nonsensical. If anybody thinks that, you're just fooling yourself. So let's stop all this. When we're discussing issues, let's not invoke tribe anywhere in it. That Mandinka exclusion is not going to happen. It's not going to work in that country. We all witnessed what Yahya Jammeh did here. put people in positions of power because they share the same ethnicity. And then when the commissions came and people were being challenged and, you know, held to account, we started saying, oh, they're attacking a specific tribe. But when it was happening, nobody said anything. Look at Barrow's government. He thrives on that Mandinka exclusion. You don't hear people talking about it because it's okay just to exclude the Mandinkas, right? Everybody else is fine. I don't care who he selects. There are political appointments. You can appoint whoever you want. When your government is over, those people will all go. We just select new people again. That's how political loyalty and reward, you know, works. Look at Trump's government. How many black faces do you see there? It doesn't matter. Those are the people he thinks are loyal to him and will promote his agenda. So that's how politics works. That's political appointment. When we have a new constitution where certain appointments have to go through the National Assembly, you're going to have to select somebody who is qualified. And it doesn't matter which tribe they are from or which ethnic group they are from. I care less. Ethnicity is something that is very sensitive because that's something you did not choose. Everybody should know that. You should not bow your head down because you are a minority in a country. That's who God chose you to be. That's God's decision that you are going to be born into that family, and the family will be of a certain ethnic group, and they will have certain values. They will speak a certain language. That's where you are going to be born. You didn't choose that. So why would you be ashamed of it? Or start to, you know, compare it to something else? Being Muslim, being anything else, mostly is by choice, even who you marry. But who are going to be your children? Where were you born? What language are you going to speak? Those are all divine decisions. So why should you hate somebody for the ethnic group that they are? Or saying that this ethnic group cannot amount to anything in this country, because essentially that's what is being said. If people decide that, oh, if somebody is a Mandinka, we're not going to vote for, that's their problem. It shows how little they can think. Qualification is what should, you know, drive people in deciding how they vote. Whose character speaks to you best? Who do you think will be in power and serve everybody's needs? That's what it should come down to. So let us just cut out this whole discussion about ethnicity. We're making some progress when it comes to that. If you feel like, you know, if UDP selects somebody who is not a Mandinka, then that's the chance. What about the support base of the UDP? Because there are people who say the party is a Mandinka party. What do we do? Get rid of every Mandinka who is in the UDP? Or if you are, you know, Mandinka, you should be opposed to a Mandinka just so you can prove that you are loyal to the Gambia. I don't know about anybody, but I'm not trading my ethnicity for anybody. I am who I am. That's how God made me. He made somebody else and made them into somebody who, you know, that they are born into a different ethnic group. I respect that because that's divine decision. You don't go against that. If you go against that, you're just challenging him. Who made you to hate yourself, like Malcolm X would say. So in all of this discussion, there should be no mention of ethnicity. In fact, if that is the case, I'm glad that Talib came out with the video that he did. In the Gambia, when you say ethnic groups, you say Wolof, Mandinka, Fula, Jola, Saraho, Serer, Manjago, Aku, Bainunka, you know, you don't say Moroccans or Nar. We consider them as people who came into the Gambia and are not native there. Part of Talib's family is considered that. The rest of his family, he said it, they're all Mandinka. So what is your yardstick for saying, you know, Mandinka this or that? We need to move away from that. This discussion can be had. In fact, it should not be had. Like I said, if you feel like, you know, Talib, Yangs, Landing, Rohi, Lamin Sane, Amadou Sane, if you feel like these are the people who should be, go start doing your homework. Canvass within the party. Who do you think is aligned with your view that this should be the candidate that the UDP should select in 2026? And then start working with those people. Okay, I think if we don't do this, or I think the process will be flawed in this way or that way, or I think this person has too much influence and we need to work on the internal and try to rectify that so that when the process comes, everybody will feel like it's free and fair. That's the bottom line. Listen to the leadership, you know, respect institutional authority. Respect the process. But people persist in their arrogance. I don't want to do this. This is who I feel like should be. This is, and then you're taunting people. When you taunt people, they reply. That's how extremism works. Negativity is a cannibalistic entity. It feeds on cannibalism. It eats its own in order for it to survive. You won't see people spreading positivity and then another person just, getting all riled up. That is why social media is the way it is. It keeps you hooked because it keeps showing you things that will get you riled up. And you see who the next commenter is. That's just human nature. That's how negativity works. You don't push people to the brink and then go pretend like nothing happened. Because you bring out the worst in people when we should strive to bring the best out of each other. The people you can reach out to in private, you reach out to them in private. So when things boil over into the public like this, we all have a responsibility to speak out. And people need to get it out of their system, because after this, when it moves forward, after this, it's going to get very personal and probably very nasty, and we'll jump into it. That's just where we are right now. It's enough. Wait for the process to unfold and then go fight for your candidate. If he wins, celebrate. If he doesn't, respect this process. Let's all give it our all to the person that was selected. After everything Trump did in this country, from the time he was elected to now, all the racism and all the anti-Semitism and all the, anti-immigrant position and inhumane treatment of people, what did the Republican Party, I'm not saying we can use them as an example because they are not the best example. But the process played out and he came out on top. It doesn't matter. When that happens and then somebody gets selected to be the flag bearer and you feel like, okay, this is the end for me, I cannot get behind this person, that's when you leave the party. And then sit on the sidelines and see if that person proves you right, that, okay, this is why I didn't want to support this person, or if they turn out to be the opposite of what you expect them to be. Then you can come out and say, this is why I didn't want to, and here's how we can rectify it, and maybe that time you will be listened to. Look at Adama Barrow. Jammeh is killing our people and all that. This guy is, Gambian, humble in Gambia is Budut Nimbure. You have that demeanor. Poverty is what made him, humble. That's where his humility lies. We all rooted for him. And look how he turned out. Some people looked at his face and said, nah, this is not the guy. I'm not going to support this guy. But we shut them down because what was at stake was either him or Jammeh. Because the process played out. That is the coalition arrangement. It played out. And when you want to look at how a process is respected, look at that process. Khalifa got behind him, Oji got behind him. All the political leaders who were part of the process got behind him, even though they knew they were better qualified than him. But they got behind him because Jammeh needed to go. That is why people were relentless in saying, you cannot speak against this man. Because he is what stands between us and this tyrant going. If Jammeh won in 2016, we will be crowning a king now. Today outside I was driving, I saw people with no king banners. They're protesting against Trump's military parade. When that same guy from Banjul said we should coronate Jammeh as king, he kept quiet about it. He was waiting for 2016. After he had Dabo and Co in jail, and nobody was gonna, bat an eye, and he killed Solo Sane and all that, who was gonna stand in his way? If the National Assembly said, we're gonna crown Jammeh king, because this is our African tradition. Yes, men in the National Assembly, Fabaka Tomanjara and Isco, you think they're not gonna do it? So what was at stake? People were looking at more than that. But look at how Barrow turned out, a complete and utter disaster. And those of us who supported him back then, we are on this side now, fighting to get him removed. That's how you do politics. I keep referencing this. When Jammeh was in power, he was torturing, he was raping, he was killing, he was stealing. We kicked him out. Barrow does not dare kill anybody just yet. He's going to grow that wing if we give him more power. But so far, so good. But the corruption, that is from hell. So if we kick him out and campaign on that, he is corrupt to the core and rotten in his, process of handling the affairs of the country. The next person who comes will try to avoid killing people and try to minimize corruption. And if we are not satisfied, we kick him out and bring somebody else in. That person will be less corrupt and absolutely 100% definitely will not attempt to take the life of a Gambian because they are opposed to him. That's how you improve the system and make it better, until some crazy person like, the guy we have here comes along and turns everything upside down. Then we realize, okay, he has a weakness he exploited, he has another weakness he exploited. Let's, There's this whole tribalism thing. Yeah, Jame exploited it to the core. That's why we're trying to kill that, so that we can all unite and be one people. But when it keeps popping its head up in the country and then it's all directed to one group, that's not going to work. Because whenever you attack people, they're going to stand up for themselves. That's just how it works. And then the whole thing escalates and goes to hell. So let's follow the leadership. If people are not willing to listen to the leadership, the last thing we will accept here is disrespecting the leadership of our party. Especially Mr. Dabo, who gave it all. If he wants to run, that's a decision between him, his family, and those people he seeks advice from to help him come to that decision. Anybody else who wants to put their name in forward, don't be deterred by that. If he puts his name in and you feel like you can do a better job or that you should be the one, put your name in. That's not disrespecting him. That's challenging him. There's a difference. And if your candidate happens to be, or the person you like happens to be one of those people who put their name in the ring, go support them. But do it in an atmosphere of respect. That's all we're asking. Respect is the bottom line that nobody is going to go down. Like, that's the red line. You go past that, then we come after you. That's why people keep saying, oh, you say anything, they come after you. No, we don't come after you for saying anything. We understand politics can be banter, it can be jokes, people can be satirical about politics and all that. We understand that. But when it borders on disrespect, who in their right mind will say that Lawyer Dabo is disrespectful to anybody in that country? Political opponent, activists alike. Or that he doesn't respect himself. So the minimum he deserves from us is respect. Especially if you are within his camp. And he comes out and says, I am proud that you can point to X, Y, and Z and say these are leadership material. That's a legacy the UDP is building and I'm proud of it. That is not throwing you under the bus. That is not saying, oh, you're now eyeing, like Adam Oboro would say, I will not make anybody vice president who wants to eye the presidency. He didn't do that. He respects your opinion. He respects your view. He respects your choice to think that it is time to move to somebody else other than him. He calmed you down and said, let's wait for the time. What is wrong with that? It doesn't matter how you cut it. It doesn't matter what you tell yourself. You're disrespecting him and you're disrespecting the institution. And I think the leadership needs to come out and end this carrot approach to things and pick up the stick. Because some people deserve it. Those who want to remain and abide by the rules, we can consolidate and figure out how to move forward. But we cannot have a few disruptors within the party. For over 1 year, who refuse to listen to anybody. Group calls, group meetings, private direct messages, personal messages, all of it happened within that 1 year. But it keeps escalating. Every few weeks, up a notch, up a notch. We're not going to sit down and drown in that. 2026 is close. And all efforts need to be on board. Those people you are fighting for, they are all in the UDP. All they're saying, let's fight for a UDP government. They're not saying, let's fight to make this person president or that person president, because they're waiting for the process. They're respecting the institution. Why can't you do the same thing? The person you're fighting for is respecting the institutional order that they are in. What is wrong with you not doing the same thing? That's all anybody is asking for. Wait for the right time. In the meantime, go canvass for your candidate. Find people who share similar sentiments with you and, bring them on board. Put your heads together and then, when the time comes, do everything you can to get that person nominated to be the flag bearer. Anyway, a word to the wise should be enough. It's not enough. It should be enough. So, people will continue doing what they're doing because they're adults. Nobody can control them. But the disrespect will have to end. That much we know. You cannot say, oh, Lawyer Dabo is a good person. Lawyer Dabo is this, Lawyer Dabo. But whatever follows that but, it better be factual and issue-based. Not personal and disrespectful. If you wonder why he meant so much to so many of us, look at what happened in 2016 after Solo Sunday was murdered. That's the kind of leader that people get behind and stand behind. That's what it is. It's not because, he is infallible. It's not because no. It's because he's been there for his supporters. He's been respectful. Regardless of what status anybody is in that party, he gives you the due respect. What is wrong with us according to him the same respect? And respecting him means also respecting the institutional order. If we say, let us wait for the process to start, and then we can vie for the candidate or fight for the candidate that vies and we think is capable, then we can do that. Nobody's going to hold anybody to, you know, with, I don't know, contempt for that. It's your choice, fine. If they didn't win, let's all come together and move on. There are some people even in the UDP executive, like diaspora executive, whose friends actually contested or vied against Mr. Dabo in previous elections and they didn't win. Like I said, you can say, okay, if he's there, maybe they, you know, nobody else has a chance. But that's a test of leadership. Whatever looks difficult, go head on and challenge it. And if you fall short, then you will know where your mistake lies and then you can try again. But okay. Anyway, I'll back. We'll catch up later. Okay, my phone is frozen, so